Okay. Um. Sorry. Lips. Eee. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. Dokie okie dokie. Okie dokie naughty chokies. Sorry I'm late on starting my stream. I was settings. Yes. Better sound quality. I got the windows open at the moment while it's still nice out. Which there we go. All right. Exactly. Time message. Time for the. Okay. Chapter 8. When the 7th month came, the children of Israel were in their cities. Now all the people gathered together as one in an open square that was in front of the water gate, and they told Ezra, the scribe, to bring the book of the law of Moses, which is the Lord had commanded Israel. So Ezra the priest brought the law before the assembly, men and women, all who could hear with understanding on the first day of the 7th month. Then he read from it in the open square that was in the front of the water gate. No, sir. Sorry, my cat's wanting to move my window's open. They're gonna. I don't want water. I got my coffee, and this is my first cup. My only cup. Uh, you come in here, and then you bully me into submission. Not nice, either. I'm going back to read. Just be strong in the Lord. Laurel knows where I live. I don't have any water near me. So, coffee's gonna be. The Urza, the priest, brought the law before the assembly of men and women, and all who could hear with understanding on the first day of the 7th month. Then he read from it the open square that was in the front of the water gate from morning until midday. Before this men and women are those who could understand. The ears of all the people are attentive to the book of the law. To Ezra, the scribe stood on a platform of wood, which they had made for the purpose. And beside him, at his right hand, stood Mattaiah, Shema, Anahiah, Ojadiah, Hilkiah, Messiah, and at the right hand, Pedaiah, Mishmael, Mashiel, Hashem, Hashbanana, Zechariah, and Meshullam. And Ezra opened the book in the sight of the people, for he was standing above all the people. And when he opened it, all the people stood up, and Ezra blessed the Lord, the great God. And all the people answered, Amen, Amen, while lifting up their hands. And they bowed their heads and worshipped the Lord with their faces to the ground. Also Jeshua, Bani, Sherebiah, Jamin, Cub, Shebethai, Adojah, Meshaiah, Hilkiah, Azariah, Jozabad, Hanan, Peliah, and the Levites helped the people understand the law, and the people stood in their place, so they read distinctly from the book and the law of God. And they gave the sense and helped them to understand the reading. And Nehemiah Nehemiah, who was the governor, Ezra the priest and scribe, and the Levites who taught the people, said to all the people, "This day is holy to the Lord your God. Do not mourn nor weep." For all the people wept when they heard the words of the law. Then he said to them, "Go your way, eat the fat and drink the sweet, and send portions to those who for whom from nothing is prepared. For this day is holy to our Lord. Do not sorrow, for the joy of the Lord is your strength." So the Levites quieted all the people, saying, "Be still, for the day is holy. Do not be grieved." And all the people went their way to eat and drink, to send portions, and rejoice greatly because they understood the words that were declared to them. Zather, I'm okay. You can ask Peaches. I am allowed 1 cup of coffee a day. I woke up at 10. This is my 1 cup of the coffee of the day. Let me have my coffee in peace. I'll drink water afterwards. Don't make me get Peaches in here. I'll get Peaches in here. Yes. And to be honest, I got out of bed at like 11. And I ate. I'll get Peaches in here. Kidding. Okay. I love you, Zather. Allow me to drink my coffee. Well, this is cold brew coffee. I made this cold brew a couple days ago. It's already mixed up in a pitcher inside my fridge. Now, on the second day, the heads of the father's house of all the people with the priests and the Levites were gathered to Ezra, the scribe, in order to understand the law of the words of the law. And they found written in the law, which the Lord had commanded by Moses, that the children of Israel should dwell in the booths during the feast of the 7th month, and they should announce and proclaim in all their cities in Jerusalem, saying, "Go out to the mountain, and bring olive branches and branches of olive trees, myrtle branches, palm branches, and branches of leafy trees, to make booths, as it is written." Then the people went out and brought them and made themselves booths, each one on the roof of his house, and or their courtyard, or the courts of the house of God, and in the open square of the water gate, and the open square of the gate of Ephraim. So the whole assembly of those who had returned from the captivity made booths, sat under the booths since the days of Joshua, the son of Nun, until the day the children of Israel had not done so, and there was a very great gladness. Also, day by day, from the first day until the last day, he read from the book of the law of God, and they kept in the feast 7 days, and on the 8th day there was a sacred assembly according to their prescribed manner. Come here, Loki. Here, here, Ather. Here's Ather. Look at the cute. Look at the cutie. Look at the cutie. Look at the cute. Look at the cutie patootie. Look at this cutie patootie. Loki does not say drink water. Loki says, let me go. He does not. Loki. You tell mom, or you tell mama to drink water. Okay. Chapter 9. Now on the 24th day of this month of the children of Israel were assembled with the fastings in the sackcloth and with the dust on their heads. Then those of Israel lineage separated themselves from all foreigners, and they stood and confessed their sins and iniquities to their fathers. And they stood up in their place. Loki, no, you can't lay on the laptop. Car, get off my counter. Okay. Stood up in their place and read from the book of the law of the Lord their God for 1/4 of the day, and for another fourth they confessed and worshipped the Lord their God. Then Jeshua, Bani, Penuel, Shebaniah, Bani, Shebariah, Bani, and Hanani stood on the stairs of the Levites and cried out with a loud voice to the Lord their God. And the Levites, Joshua, Penuel, Bani, Hashabah, Sherebiah, Hadijah, Shemaiah, and Pethahiah said, Stand up and bless the Lord your God forever. Blessed be your glorious name, which is exalted above all blessings and praise. You alone are the Lord. You have made heavens, the heavens of heavens, and with all their host, the earth and everything on it, the seas and all that is in them. You have preserved them all. The host of the heavens worship. You are the Lord God, who chose Abram and brought him out of Ur of the Chaldeans, and gave him the name of Abraham. You found his heart faithful before you, and made a covenant with him to give him the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, and the Gershites, to give it to his descendants. You have performed your words, for you are righteous. You saw the affliction of our fathers in Egypt. You heard their cry by the Red Sea. You shadowed signs and wonders against Pharaoh, against all his servants, and against all the people of the land. For you knew they acted proudly against them. So you made a name for yourself, as it is this day, and you divided the sea before them, so they went through the midst of the sea on dry land, and their persecutors you threw into the deep, as stone into the mighty waters. Moreover, you led them by the day with a cloudy pillar, and by night a pillar of fire, to give them the light on the road which they should travel. You came down also on Mount Sinai, and spoke with them from heaven, and gave them the ordinance and the true laws, good statutes and commandments. You made known to them your holy Sabbath, and commanded them precepts, statutes, and laws by the hand of Moses your servant. You gave them bread from the heaven for their hunger, and brought them water out of the rocks for their thirst, told them to go into possess the land which you had sworn to give them. But they and our fathers acted proudly, hardening their necks, and did not heed your commandments. They refused to obey, and they are not they were not mindful of your wonders that you did among them, but they hardened their necks, and in their rebellion they returned, anointed a leader to return to their bondage. But you are God, ready to pardon, gracious in mercy, slow to anger, abundant in kindness, and did not forsake them, even when they made a molded calf for themselves, and said, "This is your God," and brought brought you up out of Egypt. Yet your manifold mercies, you did not forsake them in the wilderness. The pillar of the cloud did not depart from them by day, to lead them on the road, nor the pillar of fire by the night, to show them light, and the way they should go. You also gave your good spirit to instruct them, and did not withhold your manna from their mouth. Gave them water for their thirst. 40 years you sustained them in the wilderness. They lacked nothing. Their clothes did not wear out, and their feet did not swell. Moreover, you gave them kingdoms and nations, and divided them into districts. So they took possessions of the land of Seol. Then the land of the king of Heshbon, the land of Og, king of Bashan. You also multiplied their children as the stars of heaven. You brought them into the land which you have told their fathers to go in and possess. So the people went in and possessed the land. You subdued before them the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, and gave them into their hands, and their kings and the people of their land, that they might do with them as they wished. And they took strong cities and rich lands, and possessed houses full of all goods, cisterns already dug, vineyards, olive groves, and fruit trees in abundance. So they ate and were filled and grew fat, and delighted themselves in your great goodness. Nevertheless, they were disobedient and rebelled against you, cast your law behind their backs, and killed their prophets, and who testified against them, to turn them to yourself. They worked great provocations. Therefore you delivered them into the hand of their enemies, who oppressed them. And in the time of their trouble, when they cried to you, you heard from heaven, and according to your abundant mercies, you gave them deliveries, who saved them from the hand of their enemies. But after they had rest, they again did evil before you. Therefore you left them in the hand of their enemies, so that they had dominion over them. Yet when they returned and cried out to you, you heard from heaven, and many times you delivered them according to your mercies, and testified against them, and that you might bring them back to your law. Yet you acted proudly, and did not heed to your commandments, but sinned against your judgments. But which is, if a man does, he shall live by them. Then he shrugged their shoulders, stiffened their necks, and would not hear. Yet for many years you had patience with them, and testified against them by your spirit and your prophets. Yet they would not listen. Therefore you gave them into the hands of the peoples of the lands. Nevertheless, in your great mercy, you did not utterly consume them, nor forsake them, for you are God, gracious and merciful. Now, therefore, our God, the great and mighty and awesome God, who kept covenant and mercy, do not let all the troubles seem small before you, that you come upon us, our kings and our princes, our priestesses and our prophets, our fathers, and on all your people, from the days of the king of Syria until this day. However, you are just in all that has befallen us, for you have dwelt faithfully, but we have done wickedly. Neither our kings nor our princes, our priests nor our fathers have kept your law, nor heeded your commandments and your testimonies, with which you testified against them. or they have not served you in their kingdom, or in many good things that you gave them, or in the large and rich land which you set before them. Hey, sorry, my cats decided they were gonna do their thing. Hey, mouse. For they have not served you in their kingdom, or in the many good things that you gave them, in their large and rich lands which you set before them, nor did they return from their wicked works. Here we are, servants today in the land that you gave to our fathers, to eat its fruits and its bounty. And here we are, servants in it. Its yields much increase to the kings you have set over us because of our sins. Also, you have dominion over our bodies and our cattle at their pleasure, and we are in great distress because all of this we make a sure covenant and write its leaders, our Levites, and our priests seal it. Chapter 10. Now, when those were placed their seal on the documents were Nehemiah, 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 I'm gonna get these. The governor, the son of Hakala, Zekiah, Syria, Azariah, Jeremiah, Pashur, Amariah, Mosiah, Hatarash, Shebaniah, Mola, Mawara, Hariam, Haramoth, Obadiah, Daniel, Ginoth, Baruch, Meshullam, Jeremiah. These were the priests. The Levites, Jeshua, the son of Azariah, Benai, of the sons of the Henadad, and Kadmiel. Girl, if you spill my coffee, I'm not gonna be happy. The cats are getting rambunctious. The Levite Jeshua, the sons of Azamah, Benani, the sons of Henadad, Kinmil. Their brethren, Shebaniah, Adajah, Kiliah, Petaiah, Hanana, Misha, Rehab, Hashabiah, Zakar, Shebiah, Shemaniah, Hojara, Abani, and Menino. Leaders of the people, Parash, Palatoth, Moab, Eham, Zatu, Bani, Bunai, Azrad, Benai, Badai, Babai, Adajah, Bigvai, Adin, Alter, Azalik, Hezkira, Ashur, Ajashar, Hasham, Bezar, Hiraf, Anath, Nabai, Bigpash, Miliam, Hazar, Jezebel, Zadrak, Jajura, Palata, Hannah, Hoshea, Hanaash, Naya, Hasahab, Halahesh, Bilhala, Shilakib, Rehum, Hashbana, Messiah, Ajaya, Hananiah, Moloch, Hariam, and Banana. Bahana. Ah. Now now the rest of the people of the priests, of the Levites, and the gatekeepers, the singers, the Nethinim, and all those who had separated themselves from the people of their lands of the law of God, their wives, their sons, and their daughters, everyone who had knowledge and understanding. These joined within their brethren and their nobles, and entered into a curse and an oath to walk in God's law, which was given by Moses, the servant of God, to observe and do all the commandments of the Lord our God, and his ordinances and his statutes. We would not give our daughters as wives to the people of the land, nor take their daughters for our sons. If the people of the land brought wares of any grain to sell on the Sabbath day, we would not buy it from them on the Sabbath, or nor on the holy day, and we would not forego the 7th year's produce and the exacting of every debt. Also made an ordinance for ourselves to exact from ourselves yearly 1/3 of shekel for the service of the house of our God, for the showbread, for the regular gain offering, for the regular burnt offering of the Sabbath, and the new moons, the set feasts, the holy things, for the sin offering to make atonement for Israel, and all the work of the house of God. And we cast lots among the priests and the Levites and the people for bringing the wood, bringing the wood offering into the house of our God, according to our fathers' houses, at the anointment times, year by year, to burn the altar of the law our God, as it is written in the law. When did you add that? Before I added. You need to have one for you, Mouse. You're also a great mod. To bring the okay. According to our fathers at the anointed times, year by year, to the burnt altar of the Lord our God, as it is written in the law. We made ordinance to bring the first fruit of our ground, and the first fruits of all the fruits of the trees year by year, to the house of the Lord, to bring the firstborn of our sons and our cattle, as it is written in the law, and the firstborns of our herds and our flocks, to the house of our God, to the priests who ministers the house of our God, to bring the first fruits of our dough. Our offerings, the fruits from all the kinds of trees, the new wine and oil, to the priests, to the storerooms of the house of our God, and to bring the tithes of our land to the Levites. And the Levites should receive the tithes in all their farming communities. And the priests and the descendants of Aaron shall be with the Levites when the Levites receive tithes, and the Levites shall bring up 10th of the strength of to house of our God, to the rooms of the storehouse, for the children of Israel, and the children of Levi shall bring the offering of the grain, of the new wine and the oil, to the storerooms where the articles of the sanctuary are, where the priests who minister, the gatekeepers, and the singers are. and we will not neglect the house of our God. 1 second, guys. I gotta shut my windows real quick. Rather, I will grab me some water while I'm up. And I'm back. I'll see my reading cat there. That's Lexi. Hi, Lexi. Okay. Type of weather takes it out on me. Chapter 11. Now the leaders of the people dwell at the Jerusalem. The rest of the people cast lots to bring out one of the 10 to dwell in the Jerusalem, the holy city. 9 tenths were to dwell in the other cities. And the people blessed all the men who were willingly offered themselves to dwell at Jerusalem. These were the heads of the province who dwell at Jerusalem. But in the cities of Judah, everyone dwelt in their own possessions in their cities. Israelites, priests, Levites, Nethium, and descendants of Solomon's servants. Also in Jerusalem dwelt in some of the children of Judah, and some and of the children of Benjamin. The children of Judah, Athaliah the son of Uzziah, the son of Zechariah, the son of Amariah, the son of Zephaniah, the son of Malil, the children of Perez, and Mezerah, the son of Parash, the son of Kolhazarah, the son of Hazarah, the son of Adariah, the son of the son of Azariah, the son of Adiah, the son of Jeroboam, son of Zechariah, the son of Shimei. All the sons of Perez who dwelt in Jerusalem were 468 valiant men. I had to turn my last of my coffee was out there. this, these are the sons of Benjamin: Salu, the son of Meshullam, the son of Joed, the son of Padiah, the sons of Koiah, the son of Messiah, the son of Ithiel, the son of Jeshariah. After him, Gabai and Sari. 928. Joel, the son of Zachary, was their overseer, and Judah, the son of Sinah, was second over the city. Of the priests, Jedediah, the son of Jerub, and Joshin, Sariah, the son of Bechiah, the son of Meshullam, the son of Zadok, the son of Merioth, the son of Hittub, was the leaders of the house of God. Their brethren who did the work of the house were 822, and Adahiah, the son of Jerhim, the son of Peliah, the son of Imri, the son of Zechariah, the son of Peshur, the son of Mashara, his brethren, the heads of the fathers' houses, were 242. And Ashari, the son of Azarah, the son of Azari, the son of Meshemoth, the son of Immer, and their brethren, mighty men of valor, were 128. Their overseers was Zabdiel, the son of one of the great men. Hey, Zather, you looking? You looking? Better? Is that better for you? I did drink water. See? I drank water. Mouse, please back me up. Also, the Levite, the Shemariah, the son of Hasatub, the son of Azkam, the son of Hashabiah, son of Bunai, Jebzai, Josabad, and of the heads of the Levites had the overseers of the business outside of the house of God. And I drank it. Mattaniah the son of Misha, the son of Zabdi, the son of the leader who began the thanksgiving with prayer. But Bakbokaiah, in the thanksgiving with prayer. Bakaiah, the second among his brethren, and Ada, the son of. I just mixed sentences. As of the leader who began the thanksgiving with prayer, Bakaiah, the second among his brethren, Abda, the son of Shamilah, the son of Gala, the son of Jathan, all the Levites in the holy city were 284. Moreover, the gatekeepers at Ikab, Haman, and their brethren who kept the gates were 172. The rest of the Israel, of the priests and Levites, were in all the cities of Judah, every one in his inheritance. But Nethaim dwelt in the Ophel, and Zerah and Geshpa were over Nethaim. Also the overseers of Levites of Jerusalem was Uzai, the son of Bani, the son of Hashabiah, the son of Mattaniah, the son of Mesha, the sons of Asaph, the singers in charge of the service of the house of God. For it was the king's command concerning them that a certain portion would be for the singers, a quota day by day. Pethiah, the son of Meshabel, of the children of Zerah, the son of Judah, was the king's deputy in all matters concerning the people. And as for the villages with their fields, some of the children of Judah dwelt in Kirath Arab and its villages, Dibon and its villages, Jezabel, its villages, and Jeshua, Moab, Pethel, Hazarhol, Bathsheba and its villages, and Zaglock, Bikra and its villages, and Rimmon, Zerah, Jeramath, Zanaha, Adaham, and their villages, and Lelash and its fields, and Lika and its villages. They dwelt in Bathsheba to the valley of Hilam. Also the children of Benjamin from Gibeah dwelt in Mishmash, Ajah, and Bethel, and their villages, and Nanath, Nob, Ananiah, and Hazar, Rimmah, Gittayim, and Hadid, Zarium, Nabalt, and Lod, Ono, and the valley of craftsmen. Some of the Judean divisions of Levites were in Benjamin. Guys, we're getting through these chapters pretty good, don't you think? Chapter 12. Now these are the priests and the Levites who came up with Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and died. Okay, sorry, I've got to have to restart reading where I was because I don't even remember what I was doing. Now, these are the priests and the Levites who came up with Zebarel, the son of Shealtiel, and Jeshua, Syria, Jeremiah, Ezra, Amariah, Mullah, Madhash, Shanana, Rahem, Merath, Edo, Genanath, Abdiel, Majana, Majamim, Mahada, Begoth, Shemaiah, Jobab, Jebediah, Solo, Amonk, Hilkiah, and Zedadiah. These were the heads of the priests and their brethren. In the days of Jeshua, moreover, the Levites were Jeshua, Benaiah, Gadiel, Shemaiah, Junana, and Mattiah, who led the thanksgiving psalms. He and his brethren, and all Bakiah, and Onai. Their brethren stood across from them in their duties. Jeshua begot Joachim. Joachim begot Ishahib. Ishahib begot Joadiah. Joadiah begot Jonathan. Jonathan begot Judah. Now these are the days of Joachim. The priests, the heads of the house, of the fathers' houses were Seraiah, Meriah of Jeremiah, Ananiah of Ezra, Meshullam of Moriah, Jenna, of Melichu, Jonathan of Shemaiah, Joseph of Haram, Abana of Merath, Hilkiah of Edo, Zechariah of Ginoth, Meshalah of Abjah, Zechari, the son of Benjamin of Moadiah, Peliatiah, of Balagah, Shemaiah, Jeshonathan, Jerahab, Matari, Jedediah, Uzay, of Sari, of Amonk, Erder, of Hilkah, Hajirah, of the Jedediah Nathaniel. I need to write that down. That name, I wanna. Sorry, guys. I have a little note inside my Bible, on my phone, list of babies that I would like. I like this way that they spell this spell in the thing. So like how they spell this Zachariah. Okay, sorry. During the reign of Darius the Persian, a record was also kept in the Levites and the priests who had been heads of the fathers of houses of the days of Eliashib, Johab, Johanna, and Jodah, the sons of Levi, and the heads of the fathers' houses, until the days of Jonah, the son of Eliashib, was written in the book of Chronicles. And the heads of the Levites were Hashabiah, Sherebiah, Jeshua, sons of Kadmiel, with their brothers across from them to praise and give thanks, and group alternating with group according to the command of David, the man of God, Matariah, Bakaliah, Odadiah, Meshullam, Talman, and Utkub were gatekeepers, keeping watch at the storerooms at the gates. These lived in the days of Joachim, the sons of Jeshua, the sons of Jodak, and in the days of Nehemiah, Nehemiah, the governor, and of Ezra, the priest, the scribe. Now at the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem, they fought out the Levites in all their places to bring them to Jerusalem to celebrate the dedication with the gladness, both with thanksgiving and singing with cymbals and string instruments and harps. The sons of the singers gathered together from the countryside around just Jerusalem, from the villages of the Nethites, from the house of Gilgal, and from the fields of Geba, and Azimeth. For the singers had built themselves villages all around Jerusalem. Then the priests and Levites purified themselves and purified the people, the gates and the wall. So I brought the leaders of Judah up to the wall and anointed the two large thanksgiving choirs. One went into the right hand and on the wall with the refused gate. After them went Hoshea, the half of the leaders of Judah, and Azariah, Ezra, Meshullam, Judah, Benjamin, Shemariah, Jeremiah, and some of the priests' sons with the trumpets, Zechariah, the sons of Jonathan, the son of Shemariah, the son of Matthiah, the son of Micaiah, and the sons of Zechar, and the sons of Elah, and his brethren, Shemariah, Azarel, Malali, Gedali, Mahani, Nathaniel, Judah, Nahani, with the musical instruments of David, the man of God, and Ezra, the scribe, went before them by Fountain Gate. In front of them, they went up their stairs of the city of David on the stairways of the wall beyond the house of David, as far as the gate, Watergate eastward. The other Thanksgiving choir went the opposite way, and I was behind them with the half of the people on the wall, going past the tower of the ovens as far as the broad wall, and above the gate of Ephraim, and above the old gate, and above the fish gate, and the tower of the Hanel, the tower of the hundred, as far as the sheep gate. And they stopped at the gate of the prison. So the two Thanksgiving choirs stood in the house of God. Likewise, I and half of the rulers with me, and the priests, and Ikram, the Messiah, Menachem, the Messiah, Elionai, Zechariah, and Ananiah, with trumpets. Also Messiah, Shemaiah, Ezra, Uzri, Johanna, Ashara, Elam, and Ebzer. The singers sang loudly with Jezariah, the director. Also the day they offered great sacrifice and rejoiced, for God made them rejoice with great joy. And the women, the children, that also rejoiced, so that the joy of Jerusalem was heard afar off. And at the same time, some appointed over the rooms of the house storehouse for the offerings of the first fruits and the tithes. They gather to them from the fields of the cities and the portions specified by the law for the city of the priests and Levites. For Judah rejoiced over the priests and Levites who ministered, both singers and gatekeepers, for the charge of their God and the charge of the purification, according to the command of David and Solomon his son. For in the days of David and Asaph of old, there were chiefs of the singers, also, and songs of praise, thanksgiving to God, in the days of Zerubbabel, and in the days of Enarham, all Israel gave the portions for the singers and the gatekeeper a portion on each day, and they also consecrated holy things for the Levites, and the Levites consecrated them for the children of Aaron. Chapter 13. Let me get a drink from my water. Hey, Mouse or Zather, real quick. I want to check this again real quick. I have a new thing added to my OBS. Will one of y'all do a redeem of my points? See, if I can see it. Tell me what you're redeeming. You got an AF as soon as you redeemed? An ad. Oh. I'm not sure. What did you redeem? Okay, so I gotta figure out a way to I can see my redemptions. I have to figure this out. After I get done streaming, I'll play with OBS a little bit. Okay. Chapter 13. On that day they read the book from the book of Moses, and in the hearing of the people, and in it found written from the no Edomite or Moabite should ever come into the assembly of God, because they had not met the children of Israel with bread and water, but hired Balaam against them to curse them. However, our God turned the curse into a blessing. So it was when they had heard the law that they separated all the mixed multitude from Israel. Back from ads. What happened? Okay, so I don't see. So Zather and Mouse, till I figure this out, y'all will have to tell me when people redeem points. Ask me like, hey, have you drank water? Have you stretched? Somebody did a prayer request. If y'all could help me with that. That would be great. I'm gonna have to play with. Oh no. I'm gonna have to when I get done with streaming, I'm gonna play with OBS to figure out how I can. I also have to figure out how to. I'm also gonna have to figure out how to raid in OBS. I'm gonna have to play with around. I might do like a name the stream testing and test do some testings and stuff. And so all right. Oh, so we're in the last chapter of Nehemiah. I wish I knew how to say his name better. Okay, now before hit this, Ishib, this priest that was having authority over the storerooms of the house of God, was allied with Tobiah, and he prepared for him a large room where previously they had stored the grain offerings and the frankincense, the articles, the tithes of grain, and the new wine and oil, which were commanded to be given to the Levites and singers and gatekeepers and the offerings for the priests. But during all this, it was not in Jerusalem, for in the 32nd year of Atharax, king of Babylonian, I had returned to the king. Then after a certain days I obtained leave from the king, and I came to Jerusalem and discovered the evil that Ishahib had done to Tobiah in preparing a room for him in the courts of the house of God. It grieved me bitterly. Therefore, I threw all the household goods of Tobiah out of the room when I commanded them to cleanse the rooms, and I brought back into them the articles of the house of God, with the grain offering and the frankincense. I also realized that the proportions for the Levites had not been given them, for each of the Levites and the singers who did the work had gone back to his field. So I contended with the rulers and said, "Why is the house of God forsaken?" And I gathered them together and set them in their place. Then all Judah brought the tithe of the grain and the new wine and the oil in the storehouse, and I anointed as the treasures over the stores of the Shemariah, the priest, and Zadok, the scribe, the Levites, and Pedariah, and next to them the Hananiah, the son of Zachar, the son of Matthias, and for they had considered faithful in their task were disputed to their brethren. Nehemiah. Nehemiah. Nehemiah? Is that how you say it? Nehemiah? Nehemiah? Yes! Thank you, Mouse. Mm. Remember me, oh my God, concerning this, and do not wipe out my good deeds that I have done for my house, from the house of my God, and for its services. In those days I saw people in Judah treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing the sheaves and loading donkeys with the wine grapes, with wine, grapes, figs, and all the things, kinds of burdens, which had brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And I warned them about the day on which they were selling provisions. Men of Tyre, Tyre, dwelt there also, who brought in the fish and all kinds of goods, and sold them on the Sabbath to the children of Judah in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the nobles of Judah, and said to them, "What evil things is this that you do, by which you profane the Sabbath day? You did not did not your did not your fathers do thus, and did not your God bring all disaster on us and on the city? Yet you bring added wrath on Israel by profaning the Sabbath." So it was as the gates of Jerusalem, as it began to be dark before the Sabbath, that I commanded the gates to be shut, and charged that they must not be opened till after the Sabbath. Then I posted some of my servants at the gates, so that no burdens would be brought in on the Sabbath day. Now the merchants, sellers, and of all kinds of wares lodged outside Jerusalem once or twice. Then I warned them and said to them, why do you spend the night around the wall? If you do so again, I will lay hands on you." From the time on they came no more on the Sabbath, I commanded the Levites that they should cleanse themselves, that they should go and guard the gates and sanctify the Sabbath day. Remember me, oh my God, concerning this. Also, spare me according to the greatness of your mercy. And those days I also saw Jews who had married women as of Ashdod, Ammon, and Moab, and half of the children spoke the language Ashdod, and could not speak the language of Judah, and spoke according to the language of one of the other. So I contended with them, and cursed them, struck one of them, and pulled out their hair, and made them swear by God, saying, You shall not give your daughters as wives to their sons, nor take their daughters for your sons or yourselves. Then not Solomon, king of Israel, by these things, yet among many nations there was no king like him, who was beloved of his God, and God made him king over all Israel. Nevertheless, pagan women caused even him to sin. Should we then hear you're doing all this great evil, transgressing against our God by marrying pagan women? And one of those sons of uh, Jodada, the son of Ishalib, the high priest, and was the son-in-law of Sanbat, the Harnite. Therefore I drove him for me. Remember them, O my God, because they have defiled the priests, the covenant of the priests, and the Levites. Thus I cleansed them of everything pagan. I also assigned duties to the priests and the Levites, each of the service, and to bringing the wood offering, the first fruits of appointed times. Remember me, O my God, for good. And that is the last of Nehemiah. Okay, we're gonna go. Now we're in Esther. This is my favorite book. You know, I love Esther. If I have a daughter, I should name her Esther. I'm like loving the Jewish names. Got why I pulled out my phone. Okay. Okay. Esther. Chapter 1. Now it came to pass that the days of Esdras. This was the Esdras who reigned over 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia. In those days, the king of Esdras was sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shohad, the citadel. That in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast for all his officials, servants in the powers of Persia and Media, the nobles and the priests and the province being before him, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the splendor of his excellent majesty for many days, 180 days in all. When all these days were completed, the king made a feast lasting 7 days for all the people who were in the presence of Shahan, the citadel, from the great to the small, in the court of the garden of the king's palace. There was a white and blue linen curtain, fastened with cord of fine linen and purple on silver rods and marble pillars. The couches were of gold, silver, and mosaic pavement of alabaster turquoise, and white and black marble. They served drinks in the golden vessels, and each vessel being different from the other, with the royal wine in abundance, according to the generosity of the king. In accordance with the law, the drinking was not compulsory, for so the king was ordered all the officials of his household that they should do accordingly to each man's pleasure. Queen Vashti, who also made a feast for the women in the royal palace, which belonged to King Ahasuerus. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Maham, Mezbeth, Bizbath, Menahem, Mezbath, Arawana, Bigatha, Agatha, Zerath, and Sarkas, 7 eunuchs who served in the prince of King Ahasuerus, to bring Queen Vashti before the king wearing her royal crown, in order to show her beauty to the people and the officials, for she was beautiful to behold. But Queen Vashti refused to come at the king's command, who brought by his eunuchs. Therefore the king was furious, and his anger burned within him. Then the king said to the wise men who understood the times, this was the king's manner toward all who knew law and justice. Those closest to him, being Krishna, Shithar, Admatha, Harash, Miras, Marcina, and Mirakan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, who had access to the king's presence, and who ranked highest in the kingdom. What shall we do to Queen Vashti according to the law, because she did not obey the command of King Ahasuerus, brought to her by the eunuchs? And Menahem answered before the king and the princes, Queen Vashti was not only wronged the king, but also the princes and all the people who were all in the province of the King Ahasuerus. For the queen's behavior will become known to all women, so they will despise their husbands in their name and their eyes, and they will report King Ahasuerus commanded Queen Vashti to be brought before him, but she did not come. This very day, the noble ladies of Persia and Media will say to all the king's officials that they have heard of the behavior of the queen. Thus there will be excessive contempt and wrath. If it pleases the king, let the royal decree go out from him, and let it record in the laws of the Persians and the Medes, so that it will not be altered, that Vashti shall come no more before the king Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal position to another who is better than she. When the king's decree, which he will make its proclamation throughout the entire throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives will honor their husbands, both great and small. And reply pleased the king and the princes. The king did according to the word of Menahem. Then he sent letters to the king's provinces to each. The king did according to the words of Menahem. Then the letters to the king province, to each province in his own script, to every people in their own language, that each man should be master to his own house and speak in the language of his people. You know, Queen Vashti ended up getting. She just didn't want to come over to people, to the drunkards. She didn't want to stand in front of the drunkards, but it ended up costing her life. And I just, we just watched on Sunday. We watched One Night with the King. So I'm trying not to picture the movie while I'm reading this book. Chapter 2. After these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus subsided, he reminded Vashti that what she had done, and what had been decreed against her. Then the king's servants who attended him said, "Let beautiful young virgins be sought for the king, and let the king appoint officers in all the province in his kingdom, that they may gather all the young virgins to Shehan the citadel, and to the women's quarters, under the custody of Haggai, the king's eunuchs, custodian of the women, and let the beauty preparations be given to them. Then let the young women who please the king to be queen instead of Vashti." Then this thing pleased the king, and he did so. In Shushan the citadel, there were a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jar, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite. Kish had been carried away from Jerusalem, and with the captives who had been captured, with Zechariah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylonian, had carried away. And Mordecai had brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter. For she had neither father nor mother. The young woman was lovely and beautiful. When her father and mother died, Mordecai brought her. Oh, sorry. Mordecai took her as her own daughter. So it was when the king commanded decree were heard, when many young women were gathered at Shushan the citadel under the custody of Haggai, that Esther also was taken to the king's palace, into the care of Haggai, the custodian of the women. Now the young women pleased him, and she obtained his favor. So he readily gave beauty preparations to her, beside her allowance. Then 7 choice maidservants were provided for her from the king's palace, and he moved her and her maidservants to the best palace in the house of the women. Esther had not revealed her people or her family, for Mordecai had charged her not to reveal it. And every day Mordecai paced in front of the courts of the women's quarters to learn of Esther's welfare. What was happening to her? Each young woman's turn came to go in to King Ahasuerus after she had completed 12 months' preparations, according to the regulation of the women. For thus there was the days of the preparations apportioned 6 months with oil of myrrh, 6 months with perfumes and preparations for beautifying women. Thus prepared each one woman went to the king, and she was given whatever she desired to take with her from the women's quarters to the king's palace. In the evening, she went in the morning. She returned to the second house of the women, to the custody of Shajaga, the king's eunuch who kept the concubines. She would not go in to the king again unless the king delighted in her and called for her by name. Now, when the turn came for Esther, the daughter of Abihail, an uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her as his daughter, to go in to the king, she requested nothing but what Haggai, the king's eunuchs, the custodian women, advised, and Esther obtained favor in the sight of all who saw her. So Esther was taken to King Ahasuerus into his royal palace in the 10th month, which is the month of Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. The king loved Esther more than all the other women, and he obtained grace. She obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins. So he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. Then the king made a great feast, and the feast of Esther, for all the officials and the servants. He had proclaimed holiday in the province, gave gifts according to the generosity of the king. When the virgins were gathered together a second time, Mordecai sat within the king's gate. Now Esther had not revealed her family or her people, just as Mordecai had charged her. For Esther obeyed the command of Mordecai, as when she was brought up by him. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's eunuchs, Bigthan and Teresh, doorkeepers, became furious and sought to lay hands on King Ahasuerus. So the matter became known to Mordecai, who told Queen Esther, and Esther informed the king in Mordecai's name. And when the inquiry was made into the matter, it was attained, and both were hanged on the gallows. And it was written in the book of Chronicles in the presence of the king. Chapter 3. After these, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, and advanced him, and set his seat above all the princes who were with him, and all the king's servants who were within the king's gate bowed and paid homage to Haman, for so the king had commanded concerning him. But Mordecai would not bow or pay homage. Then king's servants who were with him within the king's gate said to Mordecai, "Why do you transgress the king's command?" Now it happened, when they spoke it to him daily, and he would not listen to them, that they told it to Haman, to see whether Mordecai's words would stand. For Mordecai had told them that he was a Jew. When Haman saw that Mordecai did not bow or pay homage, Haman was filled with rage. But he disdained to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had told him of the people of Mordecai. Instead of Haman, set out to destroy all Jews who were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, the people of Mordecai. In the first month, which is the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of the King Ahasuerus, they passed that is the lot, before Haman, to determine the day and the month, until it fell the 12th month, which is the month of Adar. Then Haman said to King Ahasuerus, "There is a certain people scattered and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of your kingdom. Their laws are different from all other peoples, and they do not keep king's laws. Therefore it is not fitting for the king to let them remain. If it pleases the king, let a decree be written that they be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver into the hands of those who do the works, to bring it into the king's treasuries." So the king took his signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. And the king said to Haman, "The money and the people are given to you, to do with them as seems good to you." Then king's scribes were called on the 13th day of the first month, and a decree was written according to all that Haman commanded, to the kings of Astraps, to the governors who were over each province, to the officials of all the people, to every province according to its scribe, and to every people in their language. In the name of the king Ahasuerus, it was written and sealed with the king's signet ring. And the letter was sent out by couriers into all the king's province, to destroy, to kill, to annihilate all the Jews, both young and old, but little children and women. And one day, on the 13th day of the 12th month, which is in the month of Adar, to plunder their possessions. A copy of the document was to be issued as a law to every province, being published for all the people. that they should be ready for that day. The carriers went out and hastened by the king's command, and the decree was proclaimed in Hushan the citadel. So the king and Haman had sat down to drink, but the city of Hushan was perplexed. Chapter 4. When Mordecai learned of all that had happened, he tore his clothes and put this on the sackcloth and ashes, and went out onto the midst of the city. He cried out with a loud, bitter cry. He went as far as the front of the king's gates, for no one mighty entered the king's gates clothed with sackcloth. And in every province where the king's command and decree arrived, there was great mourning among the Jews, within fasting, weeping, wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and eunuchs came and told her, and the queen was deeply distressed. Then she sent garments to clothe Mordecai and take his sackcloth away from him, but he would not accept them. Then Esther called Hadakath, one of the king's eunuchs, whom he had anointed to attend her, and she gave him a command concerning Mordecai, to learn what and why this was. So Haggai went to Mordecai to the city square that was in front of the king's gate, and Mordecai told him all that had happened to him, and the sum of money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasuries to destroy the Jews. He also gave him a copy of the written decree for the destruction which was given at Hushan, that he might show it to Esther and explain it to her, and that he might command her to go in to the king to make supplication to him and plead before him for her people. The Hekath returned and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Then Esther spoke to Hekath and gave him command for Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's province know that any man or woman who goes into the inner courts to the king, who has not been called, he has but one law, but put all to death, except the one to whom the king holds out the golden scepter, that he may live. Yet I myself have not been called to go into to the kings in 30 days. So they told Mordecai Esther's words, and Mordecai told them to answer Esther, "Do not think in your heart that you will escape in the king's palace any more than all the Jews, and if any remain, you remain completely silent at this time. Relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. Yet who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Then Esther told them they replied to Esther, "Go gather the Jews who present into Hush and fast for me. Neither eat nor drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will fast likewise. So I will go to the king, which is against the law, and if I perish, I perish." So Mordecai went this day and did according to all that Esther commanded him. Chapter 5. Now it happened on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the king's palace, across the king's house. And while the king sat on his royal throne in the royal house, facing the entrance of the house, so it was, when the king saw Queen Esther standing in the court, that she found favor in his sight, and the king held out to Esther his golden scepter that was in his hand. Then Esther went near and touched the top of his scepter. Then the king said to her, "What do you wish, Queen Esther? What is your request? It shall be given to you, up to half the kingdom." So Esther answered, "If it pleases the king, let the king and Haman come today to the banquet that I have prepared for him." Then the king said, "Bring Haman quickly, that he may do as Esther said." So the king and Haman went to the banquet that Esther had prepared. At the banquet of wine, the king said to Esther, "What is your petition? It shall be granted. What is your request? Up to half the kingdom it shall be done." Then Esther answered, said, "My petition and my request is this. If I have found favor in the sight of the king, if it pleases the king to grant my petition and fulfill my request, then let the king and Haman come to the banquet which I have prepared for them, and tomorrow I will do as the king has said." So Haman went out that day joyful and with glad heart, but Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate. that he did not stand or tremble before him. He was fulfilled with indignation against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman restrained himself and went home, and he sent and called for his friends and his wife Zeresh. Then Haman told them of his great riches, the multitude of his children, everything in which the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the officials and the servants of the king. Moreover, Haman said, besides, Queen Esther invited no one but me to come in with the king to the banquet that she prepared, and tomorrow I am again invited by her, along with the king. Yet all this avails me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting in the king's gate. Then his wife Zareth and all his friends said to him, let a gallows be made 50 cubits high, and in the morning suggest to the king that Mordecai be hanged on it. Then go merrily with the king to the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, so he had the gallows made. Chapter 6. That night the king could not sleep, so one of his was commanded to bring the book of the records of the Chronicles. They were read before the king, and it found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teresh, who two of the king's eunuchs, the doorkeepers, who had thought to lay hands on King Ahasuerus. Then the king said, what honor or dignity has been bestowed on Mordecai for this? The king's servants who attend to him said, nothing has been done for him. So the king said, who is in the court? Now Haman had just entered the outer court of the king's palace, and suggested that the king hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. The king's servants said to him, Haman is there, standing in the court. And the king said, let him come in. And so Haman came in, and the king asked him, what shall we be done for the man whom the king delights to honor? Now Haman thought in his heart, who would the king delight to honor more than me? And Haman answered the king, for the man whom the king delights to honor, let a royal robe be brought out which the king has worn, and a horse on which the king has ridden, which has the royal crest placed on his head. Then let the robe and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that he may array the man whom the king delights to honor. Then parade him on horseback through the city square, and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delights to honor. Then the king said to Haman, hurry and take the robe and the horse, as you suggested, and do it for the Mordecai, the Jew, who sits within the king's gate. Leave nothing undone, all that you have spoken. So Haman took the robe and the horse and strayed Mordecai, and led him on the horse throughout the city, proclaiming before him, thus shall it be done for the man whom the king delights to honor. After Mordecai went back to the king's gate, but Haman hurried to his house, mourning and with his head covered. When Haman told his wife Zeresh, all his friends, everything that had happened to him, his wise men and his wife Zeresh said to him, if Mordecai before whom you have begun to fall, is it of Jewish descent? You will not prevail against him, but surely fall before him. While they were still talking with him, the king's eunuchs came and hastened to bring Haman to the banquet which Esther had prepared. It's like I got a drink. Chapter 7. So the king of Haman went to dine with Queen Esther, and on the second day at the banquet of wine, the king again said to Esther, what is your petition, Queen Esther? It shall be granted to you. What is your request? Up to half the kingdom. It shall be done. Then Queen Esther answered and said to him, if I have found favor in the sight of king, if it pleases the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. For we have been sold, and my people and I, to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be annihilated. Had been we been sold as a male and female slaves. I have held my tongue, although the enemy would have never compensate for the king's loss. So King Esther answered and said to the Queen Esther, "Who is he, and where is he, who would dare presume in his heart to do such a thing?" And Esther said, "The adversary and an enemy is the wicked Haman." So Haman was terrified before the king and queen. Then the king arose in the wrath from the banquet of wine and went into the palace garden. But Haman stood before the queen Esther, pleading for his life, for he saw that evil was determined against him by the king. When the king returned from the palace garden to the place of the banquet of wine, Haman had fallen across the couch where Esther was. Then the king said, "Will he also assault the queen while I am in the house?" As the word left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. Now Harbarath, one of the eunuchs, said to the king, "Look, the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman made for Mordecai, who spoke good on the king's behalf and is standing at the house of Haman." Then the king said, "Hang him on it." So they hanged Haman on the gallows that they had prepared for Mordecai. Then the king's wrath subsided. Chapter 8. On the day of King Ahasuerus gave Queen Esther the house of Haman, the enemy of the Jews, and Mordecai had become the king for Esther had told how he was related to her. So the king took off his signet ring, which was taken from Haman, and gave it to Mordecai, and Esther anointed Mordecai over the house of Haman. Now Esther spoke again to the king, fell down on his feet, and implored him with tears to enact the evil of Haman the Agagite, and the scheme which he had devised against the Jews. And the king held out the golden scepter towards Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king, and said, "If it pleases the king, if I have found favor in his sight, the thing seems right to the king, and I am pleasing in his eye. Let it be written to revoke the letter devised by King Haman, devised by Haman, the son of Hanamath the Agagite, which he wrote to annihilate the Jews who are in all the king's province. For how can I endure to see the evil that will come to my people? Or how can I endure to see destruction of my countrymen?" Then King Ahasuerus said to Queen Esther and Mordecai the Jew, "Indeed, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and they have hanged him on the gallows because he tried to lay hands on the Jews. You yourself write a decree concerning the Jews as you please in the king's name, and seal it with the king's signet ring. For whatever is written in the king's name seal with the king's signet ring, no one can revoke." So the king's scribe were called at that time in the 3rd month, which was the month of Sivan, on the 23rd day. It was written according to all that Mordecai commanded to the Jews, the inscribes, the governors, and the princes of the provinces from India to Ethiopia. 127 provinces in all. To every province in own script, every people in their own language, to the Jews of their own script and language. And he wrote in the name of the king Ahasuerus, sealed it with the king's signet ring, and sent the letters by carriers on the horseback, riding on horses bred from stiff steeds. By the letters the king permitted the Jews were in every city to gather together and protect their lives, to destroy and kill and annihilate all the forces of any people or province who would assault them, both little women and children, to plunder their possessions. On one day in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, on the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar. A copy of the document was to be issued as a decree in every province and published for all the people, so the Jews would be ready on the day of to avenge themselves on their enemies. The carriers who rode on royal horses went out and hastened the pressed by the king's command, and the decree was issued in Helesh the citadel. So Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel, of blue and white, with a great crown of gold and a garment of fine linen and purple, in the city of Helesh and Shan, rejoiced and was glad. The Jews had light and gladness, joy and honor, and in every province, city, whatever the king's command and decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a holy holiday. Then many of the people of the land became Jews, because fear of the Jews fell upon them. Chapter 9. Now it was in the 12th month, that is the month of Adar, the 13th day, at the time the king had commanded, and his decree had to be executed. On the day that the enemies of the Jews had hoped to overpower them, the opposite occurred, and that the Jews themselves overpowered those who hated them. The Jews gathered together in the cities throughout all the province of the king Ahasuerus to lay hands on those who sought their harm. No one could withstand them, because fear had of them fell upon all the people and all the officials of the province, and the satraps and the governors, and all those of the king's works helped the Jews, because of the fear of Mordecai fell upon them. For Mordecai was great in the king's palace, and his fame spread throughout all the province. For this man Mordecai became increasingly prominent. Thus the Jews defeat all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, with slaughter, destruction, and did what was they pleased with those who hated them. In Sarash, Cyril, the Jews killed and destroyed 500 men. Also Paradath, Dalapan, Asaphath, Pathala, Pota, Adia, Adartha, Parshabath, Hasala, Asari, Adari, and Vechadath, the 10 sons of Heman, the sons of Hamadath, and Dada, the enemy of the Jews. They killed, but they did not lay a hand on the plunder. On the day of the number of those who were killed in Shenesh the citadel was brought to the king, and the king said to Queen Esther, "The Jews have killed and destroyed 500 men in Shenesh in the citadel, and the 10 sons of Haman. What have they done to the rest of the kingdom's province? Now that is your petition. It shall be granted to you. Or what is the further request? It shall be done." Then Esther said, "If it pleases the king, let it be granted that to the Jews that who are in to do again tomorrow according to today's decree. Let him and his 10 sons be hanged down the gallows." So the king commanded this to be done, and the decree was issued in Teresh, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. Then the Jews were in Teresh gathered together again the 14th day of the month of Hadar, and killed 300 men of Sharon, but they did not lay a hand on the plunder. The remainder of the Jews in the king's province gathered together and protected themselves, their lives, and the rest from their enemies, and killed the 75,000 of their enemies. But they did not lay a hand on the plunder. This was on the 13th day of the month of Adar, and on the 14th of the month they rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness. But the Jews were at the Shenesh and assembled together on the 13th day as well on the 14th. And on the 15th of the month they rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Therefore the Jews of the villages who dwelt in the unwalled towns celebrated the 14th day of the month of Adar with gladness and feasting as holiday. of the holiday and for sending presents to one another. And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters to all the Jews and near and far who were in the province of the king Ahasuerus, to establish among them that they should celebrate yearly the 14th and the 15th day of the month of Adar, as far as the days on the month which have turned from the sorrow to joy for them, and from mourning to a holiday, that they should make them days of feasting, joy, and sending presents to one another and gifts to the poor. So the Jews accepted the custom which they had begun, as Mordecai had written to them, because Haman and the son of Hammedatha Agagite, the enemies of all Jews, had plotted against the Jews to annihilate them, had cast Pur, that is the lot, to consume them and destroy them. But Esther came before the king, commanded by the letter that this wicked plot which Haman had despised against Jews would return on his own head, that he and his sons should be hanged on the gallows. So they called these days Purim, after the name Pur. Therefore, because of all the words of his letter, that what they had been concerning this matter and what had happened to them, the Jews established and imposed it upon themselves, their descendants, and all that would join them. But the days failed that they should celebrate these 2 days every year according to the written instruction, according to the prescribed time. All that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every province, and every city, that these days of Purim should not fail to be observed among the Jews, that the memory of them should not perish among their descendants. Then Queen Esther, the daughter of Abihail, with Mordecai the Jew, wrote with the full authority to confirm the second letter about Purim. And Mordecai sent a letter to all the Jews to 127 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus, with words of the peace and truth, to confirm these days of Purim at their appointed time, as Mordecai the Jew and Queen Esther had prescribed for them, as they had decreed for themselves, their descendants, concerning whether matters of their fasting and laminating. So the decree of Esther confirmed these letters of Purim, and it was written in the book. Guys, chapter 10 is just like 3 verses of Esther, and this is the last chapter, so I'm just going to finish that real quick, and then we'll pray, and I'll read out. And then we'll start Job tomorrow. Chapter 10. King Ahasuerus imposed tribute on the land on the islands of the sea. Now all the acts of his power and his might, and the account of the greatness of Mordecai, to which the king advanced him, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of Kings of Media and Persia? For Mordecai the Jew was second to the king of Ahasuerus, and was great among the Jews, and was received by the multitude of his brethren, seeking the good of his people and speaking peace to all his countrymen. And that is the end of Esther. And we'll read Job tomorrow. Oh. Let's see who's streaming right now. Of course. Zyler, who's your friend? I can raid them real quick. real quick. Let me pray us off. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to come together and read the Word of God and getting closer to you, Lord. Let the Word seep through us and let us just continue to seek you out. Give us the strength to keep going. And Lord, I pray over the storms that are about to hit me in a little bit. And I pray that you protect my home and protect the Alex at work and the car at work. In your mighty name, amen. Zergton, okay. Okay, you ready? We'll go raiding Zother's friend.